Welcome everyone to History Gone Wilder, part of Half History Will Travel. I am your host, the Wilder Historian, and last year I completed the lead-up and the first day at the Battle of Chickamauga. Starting this week, I'll be covering the second and final day at Chickamauga as well as the retreat to Chattanooga. On the morning of September 20th, Union Major General William S. Rosecrans was up and moving by 6 a.m., riding over his lines, making adjustments as he went. The night before, Major General George Thomas had pulled his troops back to a position he had scouted as Cleburne's division attacked his troops on the night of the 19th. On the Confederate side, troops were mostly inactive. Lieutenant General Leonidas Polk knew he needed to get his troops started to begin the dawn attack that Bragg had planned the previous day. He dispatched an aide to send messages directly to Division Commanders John C. Breckinridge and Patrick Cleburne, part of D.H. Hill's corps, bypassing the chain of command. The aide found Cleburne, Hill, and Breckinridge together, and Hill asked to see the message. The aide refused and instead gave it to Breckinridge and Cleburne, who immediately gave it to Hill. Hill's troops were already preparing breakfast, and Hill decided that the attack would have to wait. As the morning passed by, Lieutenant General James Longstreet, in preparation for his attack that would follow Polk's attack, shifted his troops. Knowing he didn't have enough time before Polk attacked to redeploy his troops, he simply shifted them. Longstreet wanted his best division, Hood's old division, now commanded by Evander Law, to lead the attack, so he ordered Alexander P. Stewart's division to move north so that Law could move into that position. But when Bushrod Johnson saw Stewart moving, he likewise moved north, forcing Law to position his division behind Johnson and Stewart's division partly moving in front of Cleburne's division. To add further weight to the attack, Longstreet moved the brigades of Joseph Kershaw and Benjamin Humphreys behind those divisions. It was a strong line, and years later, Longstreet would recall that the number of men and the peculiar formation of the force that I sent against the Federal line in this battle could have and would have carried any position except a strongly fortified one. George Thomas, still concerned about his left flank, and rightfully so because the Confederate forces planned to strike it hard, ordered Negley's division to his assistance. But before they could get to the flank, Rosecrans ordered him to return his troops to their original spot. However, Beatty's brigade did continue the march to Thomas and the Union left flank. On the Confederate side, Polk, Army Commander Braxton Bragg, and Hill argued the situation, with Bragg's subordinates offering a litany of excuses for not attacking. When Rosecrans found troops to take the place of Negley, he sent Negley's division to the aid of Thomas, but only after sufficient troops were found to take the place of Negley. The divisions of Wood, Davis, and Van Cleve moved into position on the west side of the Lafayette Road. It was now past 9 a.m., and the battle had not erupted. Beatty to the north was in the wrong place, according to Thomas. Thomas wanted him to extend his brigade to the Reed's Bridge Road near the McDonald farmhouse, not form across the Lafayette Road. Beatty did as he was told, but was greatly concerned because his lone brigade could not extend from the Union left to the home in a solid mass, but he did take solace in the fact that other members of his division were on the way. However, during this entire morning sequence of events, the Confederate divisions of Patrick Cleburne and John C. Breckinridge were maneuvering into position in preparation for an attack on the Union left. To disguise his weak front, Beatty sent out a double skirmish line to give the illusion that he possessed more men than he actually did. It didn't fool anyone. Both Breckinridge and Hill reconnoitered the ground and saw the weakness of the Federal flank. At 9:45 a.m., Breckinridge and Cleburne stepped off to launch their attack, with Armstrong's cavalry on their right flank. The Confederate attack was too much for the thin line Beatty had put together, and the left flank crumbled under the weight of the rebels. The 104th Illinois and the 15th Kentucky on the right held together better and just withdrew a short distance. What helped them was the fact that Helm's Orphan Brigade approached the well-fortified and reinforced line of Absalom Baird's brigades. The 6th and 4th Kentucky and part of the 41st Alabama broke contact with Dodge's brigade and had moved to the west. The right of Breckinridge's line swept southward, attempting to get behind Thomas's line, just as Bragg had ordered. Helm's divided brigade made repeated assaults against the Union line defended by Scribner, King, and Dodge. The right maneuvered further to the west with the rest of the division. Helm himself would be hit in the side, mortally wounding the brother-in-law of First Lady of the United States, Mary Todd Lincoln. Members of various divisions began converging on Thomas's threatened line. Stanley's brigade of Negley's division arrived and deployed on the west side of the Lafayette Road, along with Colonel George Dick of Van Cleve's division. Colonel William Gross's brigade of Palmer's division advanced north up the Lafayette Road with orders to protect Baird's left flank. He barely got his brigade deployed when Breckinridge's brigades attacked. The rebels advanced on their front and on both flanks, threatening the rear of the brigade. Members of Gross's brigade recalled that the whole affair happened so quickly that they had no choice but to run. For the most part, Gross's command lost all cohesion, many of them withdrawing to the south to regroup and rest as much as they could. Breckinridge's soldiers continued their pursuit south, but fell into a trap. First, Adams's brigade ran into a strong line formed by Stanley's brigade, and Adams himself was seriously wounded. To the east, Stovall's men became surrounded by Federal regiments, who turned about face and fired volleys into their front, flanks, and rear. The three regiments of Floridians, Georgians, and North Carolinians would be lucky to make it out alive. Stanley maneuvered the 19th Illinois to his right as the other two regiments engaged with the men from Louisiana. Randall Gibson took command of Adams's brigade. His men were getting tired, having fought for over an hour. When Stanley charged the beleaguered Confederates, the Louisianians couldn't withstand the bayonets from the blue troops and broke and ran to the safety of the McDonald Farm, where artillery could cover their position. To the east, the 35th and 9th Ohio charged Stovall's men at the north end of Kelly Field, sending the rebels running for the safety of the woods. When Breckinridge saw Adams and Stovall's men streaming back through the woods, he ordered his men to fall back, knowing the attack had failed.